Air New Zealand has announced a plan to raise $2.2 billion in terms of a recapitalization package in order to pay back loans and purchase new equipment. Now, they're looking to upgrade hangars, purchase new plane, improve their balance sheet, amongst many other improvements. But should you invest in them? Now, this is what we're going to talk about in this video. Out of the $2.2 billion, about $1.2 billion is expected to come from current shareholders. This offer will also allow current shareholders of Air New Zealand to purchase 2 new shares for every 1 share that they currently own at the price of 53 cents per share. Now, this seems to be pretty cheap, and it probably is compared to its current share price. This offer price is around a 61% discount to the share price of $1.38 per share when the news was first announced. Now, they are also offering the government $600 million worth of shares, and the government is expected to pay a further $600 million with an additional $400 million in terms of loans to the company. The price of Air New Zealand shares have absolutely tanked after the release of this news. Now, it dropped by around 15% before bouncing back slightly to $1.29 yesterday. And it fell even further today. So basically what's happened is that the government gave Air New Zealand a loan of $850 million during the pandemic to help it survive, which is fair enough, I guess, because they are, after all, the majority shareholder of Air New Zealand. But then in their recapitalization package scheme, they're issuing $600 million worth of shares back to the government and then getting another $400 million worth of loans from the government. So imagine this. Let's say my business is in a bit of trouble and I had to borrow money from you. But instead of repaying you completely, I just do some clever accounting here and sell you some shares in my company back to you at a lower price so that you end up with a similar percentage of the company as you did before. But now that you paid me to buy shares from the company, I actually owe less money to you. Also, where does the government get their money from? That's right, the taxpayers. So basically, you and I, the taxpayers, are once again subsidizing Air New Zealand, whether you like it or not. Now, these are the types of things that are really frustrating. Air New Zealand expects shareholders to pay for their operating costs, their loans, and also their losses. But because the government is the majority shareholder of the company, taxpayers have to end up paying for part of the losses of Air New Zealand as well. And where is the taxpayers' benefit out of all of this? I'm really not sure. If you are an existing shareholder and you have more money to invest in Air New Zealand, you can purchase more shares and potentially have your money locked up for what could be a very long time before the company actually manages to bounce back. Now, they have had more than $450 million in terms of losses in 2020 and more than $250 million in losses last year. So they won't be paying out any dividend anytime soon till maybe 2026. Now, who knows how or what the tourism industry will be like in the future. Now, it's a little bit too difficult to predict anything at this stage. But chances are likely that it may be hard for them to recover in the short term. Or you can have option B, you can do nothing and end up having your shares potentially diluted because there are others that will be buying at this lower offer price. And you know there'll be some fancy fund managers in a full suit in an office that is going to putting money into the company. In fact, I have no doubt that Air New Zealand will easily be able to get the target amount that they are looking for. But I, for one, am definitely not going to be investing in the company. I used to consider Air New Zealand as one of the best companies out there, But after this Black Swan event, with all the lockdowns and everything going on, all of this has really done a number on the company. Now, you can say that it really isn't their fault, but you just have to be realistic about the future of the company. It's not going to go back to normal anytime soon. And what's even more troubling is that if we look at the market cap of Air New Zealand, Air New Zealand has a market cap of around $1.5 billion. So they're essentially trying to raise more money than their entire market cap, which means that they're trying to raise more money than the entire amount they have received in the past from investors. For a healthy company that's looking to expand, doing something like this is already a bit of a stretch to ask for so much money. And it's even more so for a company that's looking to recover and that's looking at a long road to recovery. At this stage, with this large amount of uncertainty, I probably wouldn't touch Air New Zealand with a 10-foot pole. But I may not even have a choice, since the government has already committed to investing in the company itself.